YCN segment is brought to you by Bubba's Bar and Grill on Lake Sunapee in Newberry Harbor.
Welcome in, YCN Sports Talk. Jeremy Stout, Brett Franklin in studio. Brett from ESPN for the Upper Valley 94.5 FM. Brett, thanks for joining us today.
Thanks for having me back, Jeremy.
And we are almost to football season. We can feel it. It's almost in the air. Cool nights, not so hot in the days, but we still got a lot of baseball to talk about, and we're going to talk about that first. Obviously, the Red Sox in the middle of basically an AL East division. I don't want to say it's right in the middle of a tight chase, but they're only 2.5 games up to start the day. With that 4-game trip to Yankee Stadium looming, what's your outlook right now as we approach September?
I was one of those people, Jeremy, that had the Red Sox winning this division by maybe 8 or 9 games. I know you didn't have that, but I thought that the Red Sox, on paper, would be a lot better. It's going to be interesting. I mean, as we tape this right now, the Yankees have a doubleheader that they're going to be playing at Yankee Stadium this afternoon. So if they sweep 2, then they come into the series down, 3.5 games into this weekend series. But the one thing that worries me about the Yankees, Jeremy, is the fact that the Yankees are just such a streaky team. As much as they could lose 5 in a row, they could rattle off 6 in a row. True. And they're a much better team at home, 4-game set. We know CeCe Sabathia is going to go Thursday night against Eduardo Rodriguez. Red Sox already have their lineup set. Drew Pomeranz on Saturday, Chris Sale on Sunday.
Right.
But this is really the time where you got to start pulling away, and the Red Sox are winning series that they have to, which is a good thing. But can't count out the Yankees, even with them 4 or 5 out.
Right, and you mentioned the doubleheader going on Wednesday against the Indians for the Yankees, and it's tough to sweep a doubleheader. So you hope they can go 1-1. They go into Yankee Stadium for 4 games. Get a split there. That's all you need. You don't need to win 3 out of 4. You just don't want to lose 3 out of 4, or worst case, you don't want to lose 4 in a row. So, with that being said, they've got some bumps and bruises that they've experienced over the last couple weeks, and a couple of the players, Jackie Bradley Jr., Dustin Pedroia, possibly coming back this weekend. Bradley Jr., when his DL stint is up. I mean, this is the biggest roadblock right now. I mean, you saw Nunez get hurt last week, but it turned out it was okay. Just don't get too many injuries, and Pedroia, he's got to be healthy, but they can't rush him back too fast or he's gone for the rest of the season. Pedroia
is your leading hitter for average at .302, and you really don't know what you're getting with that knee. I think it's eventually going to need surgery at the end of the year, and I just don't think he's a reliable guy right now in this everyday lineup. And the injuries are a serious situation here for the Red Sox. You look at the thumb injury for Jackie Bradley Jr. I mean, that's a big thing. If he can't grip a bat, with a thumb, I mean, who knows to the extent of the damage. That could play into a factor. And then you got David Price. As much as I'm not a big David Price guy, they need him. He hasn't even thrown off a mound yet, even though the Red Sox PR kind of throws in little tidbits here. He's getting ready to throw off a mound. He's getting ready to throw a simulated
ready for
game.
A few weeks now.
But yeah, it's been a few weeks, and if they don't have him, which I'm not holding my breath, Jeremy, that's going to be a big loss.
Yeah, so we'll move to that first before we get to the other pitchers. When is the drop-dead date where Price needs to be pitching a Major League Baseball game in order to be ready for the playoffs? We're not talking about rehab. We're talking on the mound at Fenway or in the Major Leagues, because he needs at least 3 starts under his belt in order to put him in the playoffs, right?
They might be in a situation where they have to throw him, say he doesn't pitch in September and he's available for a playoff game. Maybe they just toss him right in. I think they're in that situation right now. I know Drew Pomeranz has been pitching very well, but he hasn't really pitched in a big playoff game scenario. And again, I think it's all about matchups too. If you draw, the Indians in that first round series, you got to probably work it where Chris Sale has to pitch at home, and then who do you go with number 2 if you don't win game 1? There's a whole host of scenarios here, but there's still a lot of lingering questions for this team. They've won 75 games, but I still think the jury is out whether they can win the pennant.
Right, it's not over yet. And speaking of Chris Sale, good win on Tuesday, good start. They scored some runs for him, but over his career, he has been about a half a run worse ERA-wise, mostly because he gives up more home runs and more walks. Is that a concern, or is it you give him a rest here and there or give him an extra day, they got a couple days off coming up, or are you concerned about him going forward?
I'm not concerned for him going forward. I think a lot of it has to do with that he played on an organization where they were out by the time by the time September rolls around. I think September call-ups roster expansion could help the Red Sox, give some guys some days off here down the stretch. But I think he needs to pitch. I think he needs to have some momentum going into the postseason. But I'm not really concerned. He hasn't been in that spotlight quite yet, but I think when he does get in it, he'll be relishing the fact.
Yeah, he's pitched some really big games for the Sox this year. Obviously, the Sox with a comfortable lead in the division, but they aren't out of the woods yet. We'll take a break. When we come back, we'll get into the NFL. Patriots, obviously, some big news as they approach Game 1 of the season next week. And we'll talk to Brett and see how much of an impact does a big injury have on this team. You're watching YCN Sports Talk.